Sorry, my coffee was not with me. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency meeting for April 13th. We have a quorum and everyone is seated in the Zoom room. So good morning, everyone, and welcome. Looks like, let's go ahead and do introductions for the record. So I'm Jim Cooper, Chair from the Olympia City Council. I'll go to Greg.
Greg Weatherton, Jefferson County Commissioner and Vice Chair.
Frank.
Frank Wolf, Pacific County Commissioner, and I'm going to have to bail at 11 o'clock.
Okay, Frank. Joan, you're muted.
Joan Cathy, City of Tumwater.
Great. Robin.
Robin Vasquez, use she, her pronouns, and I'm from the Lacey City Council.
Wonderful. Randy.
Randy Netherland, Mason County Commission.
Carolina.
Carolina Mejia, Thurston County Commission.
Bill.
Bill Peach, Clallam County Commissioner.
Great. And Commissioner Runyon.
Yeah, Michael Runyon, City County Commissioner. Good morning.
Thanks, Michael. You okay with us calling you that? We're very first namey here.
That'd be fine.
Great. And thanks for keeping the Zoom names up for us, Dan. Really appreciate it. Okay, so I'll go to Jeff and have him walk us through our staff team.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Johnston, Director of the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency, and I'm joined by other members of the management team this morning. Lynn Harding, Debbie Moody, Mark Gooden, and Mike Schultz, Compliance Supervisor, is sitting in for Robert Moody today and will be giving the compliance report. Also, Odell Hadley is here, and Dan Nelson is here as well. And I believe Rob Weiland, one of our compliance inspectors, is sitting in as well.
Great.
So
Welcome, everyone.
Everybody.
And our council, Jeff and Mike.
Jeff Myers from Law Lyman.
And Mike Throgmorton, also from Law Lyman.
Wonderful. Did I miss anyone for introductions? Dan, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to make mention for this meeting, for the first time, we are turning on closed captioning. So we have ADA compliance and we're able to capture our transcript as well that way, hopefully making it easier for Debbie down the road.
Great. And then from an accessibility standpoint for anybody in the Zoom room, that also means you can turn on the live transcript at the bottom if you would like to have that captioning during the meeting. So it'll show up for you and no one else. So it's really a really nice convenience. So thanks, Dan, for bringing us there. Okay, so I'm looking to approve the agenda. Are there any amendments or additions? Is everyone okay with the agenda as it stands? Okay.
Approve the agenda as presented.
Okay. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Greg, a second by Robin. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so that takes us to our chair report. So we have two items. We're going to do our annual meeting and elect the officers, chair and vice chair. And then we'll just get a quick update from our finance chair about the finance meeting this morning as we start to look at the new budget. So let's start with the annual meeting. So this is a two-part action. So we need to elect a chair and then a vice chair. And as a reminder, we do this in April every 2 years. So it's a 2-year term for the air agency director officer positions. And then just to also point out that Greg is the chair of our finance committee, but that's a separate appointment that we do in February. So that, vice chair is not dependent on that, just to point out. So any questions about the process we're about to go through? Okay, so then I'm going to start with the chair, and I'll open up nominations for chair of the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency. Are there any nominations?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Jim Cooper as chair.
Okay, Randy beat me to it.
I thought you were all going to jump in and volunteer. So I have a nomination for Jim Cooper as chair. I do accept. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? And finally, are there any further nominations? Okay, nominations are closed. We have one nomination. All in favor of Jim Cooper, myself being the chair of the Clean Air Agency for the next 2 years, please say aye.
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 Aye, and thank you.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. But if you ever want to do it, just tell me and you can have it the next week. I promise. So. Okay, so that takes us to the vice chair. So we have, I'm going to open nominations for the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency vice chair for the next 2 years. Are there any nominations?
This is Carolina. Can I nominate Greg?
Can you? If he'll
I
accept.
don't know. Will Greg accept?
I will accept. Well, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect.
Second.
Okay, so we have one nomination for Greg Brotherton. Are there any other nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Okay, nominations are closed. We have one nomination. All in favor of Greg Brotherton being the vice chair of ORCAA for the next 2 years, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for your confidence.
So before we go to the finance report, I just want to acknowledge Jill Warney joined us. So good morning, Jill. Thanks for being here. Good to see you.
Good morning. Sorry, I was driving, so I just got to the office. I had another meeting this morning.
No worries. Now the record will show that you were here, so you're good.
Thanks.
Okay, so Greg, give us a quick finance committee update.
Sure. Thanks. It was my first finance committee. And as Lynn presents to us, the budget is looking good for 22. We're at 83 in revenue. We're at 83% of our budget, as opposed to at this time last year, we were at 86% of revenue. And we're at expenditures at 69% now versus 71% in 2021. So we're kind of on par with our normal pace and very healthy. We're not going to have to dip into our contingencies or reserves for anything, including, I believe, though I might have gotten this wrong, the payout for Fran's PTO. So we're looking good. And we started conversations about the 23 budget, which will come before us for fiscal year 23 in June, and made some suggestions to staff about limiting some of the options of the one variable that we discussed was, CPI and fees. So we gave between Randy, Jim, and I narrow those options to some of the lower CPI options that were talked about. And then we didn't get a chance to talk about one issue, which Lynn will bring up in her own report. So I think unless there are any questions that I can address or pawn off to Lynn, that is the Finance Committee report.
Thank you, Greg. I'll just add the actual CPI calculation that's in our policy for the end of the year of 2021, 7.4%. Something to pay attention to. That's certainly not where we're sitting with the budget discussions at the moment, but that's a big lift.
It's largely fuel costs, isn't it?
All over the place, yeah.
Yeah.
Inflation. I think I read an article about 8.5 yesterday. So, okay. So, any questions on the finance report? Okay, great. So that takes us to the consent agenda. We have 2 items. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions, comments, or polls? All in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so that takes us to unfinished business to look at and adopt the proposed ORCA work plan for this year. Jeff, can you walk us through what we have?
Sure. Let me adjust my screen here. So this is a document that that Debbie and I put together. It was as I stepped into my role, and then thinking about the board meetings coming up, the things that need to happen during certain months or what openings. It just was helpful for me to think about this and to kind of see what was coming in the year. And so talked a little bit about it with Jim and with Greg. But again, it's definitely going to be a work in progress. So it's not like it's ever finalized, but just as we get more information, we'll stick in again items for the agenda. But it again was just helpful for me, and I thought it would be helpful for the board just to be thinking about it. And certainly if there's additional things that you would like to see in here, or if we're missing items, let's hear about it, or please bring them up now or as they come up. And you'll notice that on page 2 is just there's another table just as kind of a placeholder for items that have come up in conversation, but that we haven't slotted to a particular agenda yet, but we know that we would like to talk about. For instance, the 2 things in there right now, Jim had mentioned, made a comment last month about wanting to hear more about environmental justice, climate justice, and ORCA's role in that, and kind of what the state's doing. So at some point we can talk about that. And then this other item is something that Odell and I have been having conversations about, again, as the EPA looks at lowering the national ambient air quality standards for PM 2.5. Want to just talk with you a little bit about what that might mean for ORCA, for the communities in our jurisdiction. So that's kind of what we have. You'll see, again, here we are in April, so you'll see those things that are on there. In May, we've got, again, I don't know whether we'll be I think maybe still to be determined whether or not we'll be talking about the draft budget with the full board, or whether that's going to wait until June. So like I say, this is very much kind of a working document. But the other thing in May, or one other thing, is that so my contract with the board specifies some review periods. There's a 90-day review, there's a 180-day review, and an 11-month review. So you'll see that those are in there. So the first one of those, of course, will be the 90-day review. And then the other thing in there is I've been working with the staff here on putting together an emissions inventory update. ORCA does spend a fair amount of time putting together emissions inventories from our sources. And so just want to, I think it's been a while since we've presented on that to you, but that gives us some important information. And so I've been working with staff on that. So that's kind of a quick overview of this document. I guess questions, comments, things that would make it more helpful or more useful.
Got a couple thumbs up. I'll just point out that in the next conversation, when we look at your performance, Jeff, the strategic planning piece will cause an addition to this work plan that we'll work through once we get to scheduling.
Yes, absolutely.
I appreciate the work that went into this. It's nice to be able to have some measure of understanding of what's going to be on the agendas for these meetings out into the future.
Great. And one thing let me just mention, let me set a placeholder here. So you'll notice in August, there's a regulation 1.11 and 1.12. So that's part of our rule update every year. It's basically just a series of updating dates, getting the ORCA regulations in line with the state regulations and the federal regulations. Robert and I have been talking about bringing just a resolution to you where we don't need actually to have that every year because again, all this piece is, I mean, there's other parts of certainly we'll continue to bring other parts of our rules, substantive parts of our rule updates, but it would be easier, it would help streamline things on our end if we didn't have to bring this particular piece to you, since again, all we're doing is updating a year. But again, I'll work with Robert and we'll probably bring that to you actually in May, just so that we can get this done, and so that it's not something that then takes further board discussion every August. because then that causes further delay because of when we need to then get things in the state register and so on. So.
Okay.
So we can think of August as the date to be done, not the date to start the work.
Yes, exactly.
Good. Any other comments on the work plan? So this is the second time we've seen it. So I think at this point, it'd be great to have a motion to adopt.
I'll move to adopt the work plan as presented.
This is Randy. I'll second.
Randy can have it.
Okay, I have a motion from Greg and a second from Randy. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jeff. It's a big lift to get that in front of us in 90 days. So I really appreciate you and the staff team, to Robin's point. Thanks for doing that work.
Yep, absolutely. And like I said, it's very much a work in progress. So again, if you have additional thoughts, or again, I'll work with Debbie to make sure that we update that and that we keep it current. So again, it'll be a tool that we can use to plan our meetings.
Okay. Great. So that takes us to the new business item, which is to review performance measures for our new executive director. And so just as a reminder, the board is tasked in Jeff's contract with two things in the first 90 days. One is to set the performance measures for the first year. So in a year, what are we looking at, or what do we want to see in process or have happened? And then also to give him an informal 90-day check-in review of his performance, just kind of how we've seen things going. And so on the first one, Greg and I have been working with Jeff to bring forward the performance plan that you see in the packet, and I'll have Jeff walk us through that in a couple of minutes. The second part, the informal check-in, what I'll ask is that, either, if folks want to, either this month or next month, we can go into executive session as a board and talk about performance of our employee. And then we can bring him in and just do a quick check-in as a group, or as a second option, if particularly if our discussion takes too much time, then Greg and I can do that performance check-in on behalf of the board following the board meeting, kind of depending on the number of things that we have to discuss. I would say would be the most primary, and the importance, I guess. Not that anything in this conversation is not important. So just kind of for setting that baseline, I just want to say I have been really pleased so far with Jeff's work on this performance measure. I think he's been talking to all of you and talking to Greg and I and talking to staff, and really, actually, I think done a phenomenal job in less than 90 days getting his brain wrapped around what we do and how we do it and who's involved. And I think that this document reflects really well what a lot of us have been talking about, particularly through Fran's transition, right? Look, because having that transition, points a spotlight on different parts of the organization and that have some opportunity, and that's, I think, what we really see as a result in this document. So, any questions about process before I turn it over to Jeff? Okay, Jeff, tell us what we have here, and if I missed any details about our charge and your contract, feel free to throw those in as well.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Jim. And again, I appreciate the words of support. So yeah, as Jim mentioned, I mean, these are things that have developed over a number of conversations that Jim and I had during my first month. Jim and I were meeting weekly just to talk about a variety of things, make sure that I was getting up to speed and on things from Jim and from the board's perspective. And so these largely came from conversations with Jim. I sort of drafted them and then shared a copy with Greg as well. And the three of us met, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago to discuss it. And so certainly not exhaustive, but the plan, again, the goal isn't to have something exhaustive, but just something that captures some of the key elements. In terms of the performance measures, I really wanted to have SMART measures, things that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound in developing these. So that was important. And so, yeah, I can just kind of walk through them quickly, and feel free to jump in at any point with questions or comments. Of course, the first one, update the ORCAA strategic plan. The agency does have a plan, and I know, so Robin, you had asked about that at the last meeting, and I shared the plan. I think the plan, it was developed in 2018, I think was the last time, and for a period of time, then there were reports, I think quarterly reports based around that plan. So it's not like we're starting from scratch, but I do think it's time for a look at the plan. As I look at it, it's very, I don't know, it seems very granular, in some ways more like a work plan. So I'm really interested in having it more strategic. But I do see that as a goal of, or an important thing to be doing, is to be getting to that work, to getting to that strategic plan, updating it, working closely with staff, with you all as board members, key stakeholders. And something that Jim and Greg and I talked a little bit about is having some focus areas. Again, the agency is really needing to look at succession planning. We've got, staff with the agency that have been here. We've got a couple 30-year staff that will be celebrating anniversaries here in the next couple months. And so it's really important that we look at succession planning. Again, a lot of knowledge among our team that's going to be transitioning out in the coming years. And so making sure that we're taking that into account. Also really want to look at continuity of operations. The agency doesn't currently have a continuity of operations plan, and I think that's really important to put something like that in place. And we need to update some of our IT infrastructure. I think there's a variety of, there's some deferred maintenance there. And so that's another area of focus. And so a comment that Jim made, I think when Jim and Greg and I were talking about it, is don't try to do it all at once or make it too expansive. Make sure that it's something that can be done. It might be something that, again, there's an initial plan, and then we come back to it to update it to fill in other pieces maybe in the next year or so after initial part, or after an initial iteration through it. But again, my goal here was to have something in place by about a year from now, so that then when we start something in place, so for starting the next fiscal year of 2024. So by the time July 1 of 2023 gets around, where we've got this updated strategic plan and we're moving forward from there in terms of helping to set agency priorities. So I'll stop there and ask, looks like Robin, you've got a question.
Just on the topic of enhancing our technology, were you able to fill the IT position that we had posted?
Yes, good question. And yeah, I will talk about that during my director report, but yes, I'm happy to say that our new IT system administrator starts on Friday,
Nice.
day after tomorrow. And so he will be obviously a key part of working this and helping me and the rest of the team put this part of the plan together. Any other questions or comments on this before I continue? Not seeing anything. So then the next part has to do with agency performance management. Again, I think this ties in well with the strategic plan. And again, it's a good opportunity since we're developing a strategic plan, and I see staff performance measures being tied to the strategic plan. And so frankly, there hasn't been in many years in agency really like annual evaluations and that kind of thing. I mean, there's been certainly, it's a tight-knit, well-run team, but there haven't been these sort of longer term, more strategic conversations with staff. And so I'm really interested, and I think those are really important. And so going to be implementing that. Again, I've got a new direct report starting on Friday. I'll be working with him on, so that'll be a good chance to do to set his goals and to be working with him, but then I'll be developing that with the rest of the management team in the coming months. And so this is, again, just I see in another important focus in the coming year. So let's see. Any questions, comments on that?
If you need feedback from board members on performance management, I'm happy to assist,
Great,
considering my
thanks.
day job.
Yes, thanks, Robin. I've kept you in mind, and I've certainly been drawing a lot on my experience from ecology. There were certainly a number of things about the way ecology did does annual evaluations that I don't like, but there's also some really valuable parts in it. And so I'm using that. But Robin, yes, I very well might reach out to you as a sounding board or some feedback, or for some feedback, or as a resource.
I'd like to ask that when we do that, the first one be kind of a closed session evaluation, except for the applicant or the manager himself, just so that nobody can, try and hammer any cracks or anything like that, that it's still a learning opportunity.
Yes, well, absolutely. I mean, I see these as really as formative conversations. It's not. So yes, I mean, I in terms of the conversations that I'll be having with this team, I mean, those are individual conversations, and again, it's formative. It's about, okay, well, and ideally, it's looking back on the past year, but then it's looking forward in terms of, okay, what are the things that we want to accomplish. And so, but yeah, so there is, again, I guess there is an evaluation component to it, but it's all done, in my mind, in an effort to build staff capacity, further professional development, further just make sure that folks are focused on the priorities set in the strategic plan and other things. So it's, I see it as again, more of a formative than an evaluative, although there is the evaluative part too, but I certainly plan on doing it in a confidential way. Any other questions or comments on that? Not seeing any, I don't think. So, all right, well, so third one is salary survey. Again, this is something that we've talked about. I think that there's a board resolution that the agency will do one, I think every 5 years. I think it's been more than 5 years since we've done one, so we're overdue. And so I've talked to some of the other local air agencies, and so I've gotten some examples of what they've done and who they've worked with. And so plan on launching into this here in the coming months.
I think I already asked this question previously, Jeff, but remind me, do you intend to contract with someone to assist with the salary survey?
Yes, I know in the past it's been done. Well, I think maybe it's been done too, both internally and contracting. But I've, in talking to Southwest Regional Air and Spokane and Northwest and Puget Sound, so they all contracted their work. So I've got the names, and again, a huge range. Spokane, I think, paid $20,000 for their salary survey, whereas Southwest paid $3,000 for theirs. So apparently there's quite a variability. And frankly, I haven't had time yet to dive in to those, but they sent me some of the materials. So but I do see contracting out.
Well, and just to that point, I hadn't thought of this until now, and maybe it won't work this cycle, but is there a way that all of us could participate and do them at the same time for an economy of scale?
Yeah, that's a good point. Something I could bring up with my peers.
Shared market survey instead of a bunch of individual surveys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, we've got there's a Washington Air Quality Management Director, a meeting of all of of ecology and the local air agency directors coming up first week in May. So I will bring that up and ask again. I'm not sure because everyone's on different timing, different schedule, but again, I think that's a great idea. Okay, the next item, budget development. Again, as we talked a little bit about, we had a finance committee meeting this morning, so really in the thick of budget development. This has been one of my key foci area where I've been focused over the past 3 months. And I'm really thankful that Fran and the management team really got the budget development process going early this year, kind of recognizing my transition in. So the conversations were well underway by the time I started. But so again, I've had multiple conversations with all of the managers. Lynn and I have spent a lot of quality time together, talking about things. Lynn's answered a lot of questions, getting me up to speed. And I, again, working closely with you all, particularly the finance committee, but others as well, so that you're all comfortable with and fully supportive of the budget that we develop and put forward, and that ultimately gets adopted at the June meeting. And then the last one, relationship building and outreach. Again, I think I've now had conversations with all of you except one. And so, but I'm working on getting that last conversation scheduled, but I've also been working with, again, I've at Bill's invitation met with the Clallam County Board of Health. At Jill's invitation, we've got a meeting with Grays Harbor folks week after next, I think. And I've had conversations at Carolina's suggestion, met with Josh Cummings. And so I'm having a lot of conversations with folks around, and so again, this is a critical part of what I do, the relationship building. Again, as a 16-person agency covering 8,000 square miles, and the range of work that we do, relationships and partnerships are critical to our success.
Just to let you know that Mason County's director is also going to be getting a hold of you to invite you to do a presentation at our public health, and we'll also be inviting our part of our building department, so you can capture some of the things with asbestos that you were talking about.
Okay, great.
And for the board, I wanted to add as a compliment that I think I was impressed with your understanding of the dynamics of our board. that you definitely understand us individually, and I appreciate that.
Great, Randy. Well, thanks. Certainly strive.
Jim, I'd like to make a statement.
You have the floor, Joan.
Okay. I want to profusely apologize to Jeff when he said there was only one person he hadn't talked to, that is me. And between my schedule and my not paying attention and a little bit of vacation time, I'm the one he hasn't spoken to. But now, after hearing all this and reading he's been working on, we don't need a long conversation, because I just want to say great job. I'm so glad you're here, and this is wonderful. But I will get in touch with you. I'm saying this in front of everyone tomorrow to see if there's a chance we can talk somewhere.
Looking forward.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, Joan. And no hurry. I knew there wasn't anything urgent. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation, but it'll happen at some point. Yeah, in the next week or two. But sounds great.
Thanks so much.
All right, Joan, I'm going to text you tomorrow afternoon and see if you called Jeff. So.
Okay, text me and see when to talk to him, in case you want me to ask him anything.
Well, if he doesn't get a chance to sit with her, that's his loss. She's pretty spectacular.
Wow, thank you.
Yep, no, like I said, I'm looking forward to the conversation. But so those are the 5 performance measures that we put forward. I mean, one of the things, again, it's not exhaustive. One of the things that's not in here that I've been thinking about that's really important to me is, of course, I'm interested in your evaluation of how I'm doing. That's an important part, but I'm also really interested in feedback from my team, from staff here. And I don't yet have a good way, I mean, of doing that. I've had some thoughts about that, but I see that as really important as well, again, at key points, because I'm sure that there's probably things that I'm doing that they appreciate, but I'm sure that they have suggestions for things that I could be doing to make myself more effective. So I recognize that that's not captured here, but I do see that as something important that I'm going to be looking to and looking for any ideas. If any of you have ideas or particular tools that you've used that you think would be helpful, I'm open to suggestions.
Well, and Jeff, one of the things we've done with the annual performance or semi-annual performance in the past is, just offering an opportunity for staff to reach out to the board chair, either verbally or in writing, to check in and see if there's any specific feedback they'd like to have included. So, if you're okay with that, I'd be just fine if you want to have Debbie send out a note to the staff with my phone number and email again, and just say that, we're going to discuss your first 90 days next month. And if they have anything they'd like to be on the table for the conversation, the board is open to hearing it. I prefer that much more than a tool.
Sure, that certainly works for me. If that's
and then you can have your own opportunities to have those dialogues as well within your own management plan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not an either or. I don't see, it's working with you as, instead of talking to me, I'll be looking to have those conversations as well. But yeah, let's plan on doing what you suggested, Jim.
Sorry to volunteer you, Debbie. I appreciate it.
I hear her chuckling in the other room.
Right on. Okay, so then we also attached Jeff's hiring position description here. Sorry, Jeff, am I taking your thunder? Are you done?
No, nope, no, yeah, no, I was done. So go ahead, Jim.
Okay. Just so that would be there for reference. I think it's important that we, look at both, but the discussions we had around the contract, we're really getting to a place where we have a strategic evaluation and less job description evaluation. And so getting to the strategic planning will be key in that. But I, really feel like this is a great start for someone who's been here less than 90 days. So board discussion, how do you feel about this? How do you have any comments around process in the next 2 months? And then we can see if we're ready to adopt, or we can postpone adoption until next month. We do want to adopt this before we adopt the budget, because it's really an important piece that will inform what the finance committee brings forward. So, open floor.
It feels like we're moving forward. So I appreciate you working on all of this, Jeff, because these are all the things that I would want us to be working on, right? Like development of a strategic plan, development of a work plan, identification of performance goals for the agency. So we'll just keep drilling down on like the details of some of those things, but I feel like we're really moving in the right direction.
Great.
Got a couple thumbs up, a couple nods and accolades already. Are we ready to adopt this? And then we can talk to it in executive session next month? You're nodding, but someone has to make an emotion if we're going to adopt something.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the performance measures for the ORCAA Executive Director as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Robin and a second from Greg. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Jeff, we have something to hold you accountable to besides the job description now. Nice work.
Okay, great. Well, I'll work with Debbie to remove the draft watermark, and we'll finalize this.
Great. And then we will have executive session next month at the end of the meeting to discuss the first 90 days as a board, and then we'll bring Jeff in after that, probably 10-15-minute conversation, and then we can see if we need it to be longer. So thank you, everyone. This is a huge landmark to have these and an annual work plan in front of us. So love it that this board continues to improve every year. And thanks for going along with that ride, everyone. It's a big deal. So Jeff, any closing comments?
No, just thank you for your support. Again, we've just started this relationship, but I'm really excited about where we're headed. And again, I'm just really enjoying my time with the agency and excited about where we're going. So thank you for your support.
Great. So then with that, we're going to move to directors reports, and we will start with Mike on compliance, filling in for Robert. Hello, sir. Mike is having
You there, Mike?
Comcastic. Are you muted, Mike? I saw you earlier.
Yeah, he's there. Mike is
Sorry about that. Some technical difficulties, but
There he is.
I got that back. I can even put my face on camera here. Now,
There
see,
you
listen,
are.
I was trying to find the right buttons, and I guess I didn't perform well under pressure. So sorry about that. Well, yeah, as mentioned, Robert's gone. And you guys have the board packet. That's what I was trying to pull up also in case you had questions on that. And if you have any questions, by all means, let me know. But I won't go over that in particular because you guys have had it to look at, but I'll go over 4 quick little points of this last month that Robert and I talked about, some good things for us, and we'll end with one thing that's not so good. But so anyway, in the packet, there's a picture of some pollen. You'll see that's kind of a unique thing we don't have in there very often, or probably ever. But we had some people calling in with some weird looking dust on their vehicles. So I think three different complaints, and they said it wasn't the typical orange kind of pollen. They thought it's gray. Well, we went out there. I think Rob and maybe Tony, anyway, looked at it, thought it was pollen, but we actually had the opportunity to have a forester, Chris from DNR, to do a little analysis for us. And as you can see in I think the little write-up on there, it was definitely pollen. Western cedar was most of it. And so that was kind of a unique situation where we don't often respond to pollen dust complaints, but the fact that they reported it as being some gray dust, there was potential of maybe outdoor burning or something. We didn't know. So we got out there. So that was kind of unique, and that was nice. And as you can see, Chris Boss, the Forester DNR guy, helped us out there, and we got that. So that was kind of unique, kind of maybe a nice little project, something different. Another little quick project we had was there was a University of Washington student that is working on a degree, Bachelor of Science degree, needed to get some hours in with environmental government work, and so she teamed up with ORCAA. Rob Weiland spent a day with her up in Port Angeles, did some work showing her how some inspections were done. I think there might have been a complaint response in there too. So that was a real good opportunity for us to show a soon-to-be graduate and what we do. And she was very appreciative, and she did graduate. These 8 hours helped her get the requirements that she needed, and she was very appreciative to see what we do. And perhaps later on she might be an air quality specialist. You never know. So that was a nice thing. Kudos to Rob for showing her around. The next thing was a rare inspection by EPA in our region that I went on with them not to do inspection for ORCAA, but to accompany them since I do the facility. And it was, kind of put ORCAA in, getting ORCAA, but it was a clean air agency and I'm not quoting the right one, a toxic right to know, the joint inspection for EPA. And they went to, Jill will be familiar with this facility if nobody else is, Pacific Veneer in Aberdeen. They gave us, I think, a couple weeks notice. They had somebody call them with some concerns. So they said they're going to come down and do an inspection. So I asked if we could tag along, and I did. So again, very rare occurrence for them to come down and do their own inspections. They've tagged along with us to see what we're doing, but they were doing a clean air agency and a emissions inspection. The preliminary notes from that inspection were that things were no serious findings. We're still waiting though for a follow-up meeting. I think it's scheduled in 2 weeks, but again, that was a unique opportunity. And EPA and myself, two people from EPA and myself gave Pacific Veneer a surprise when we showed up there. But again, they handled it well. They did a good job with what was there. And we're just waiting for the preliminary notes from EPA on that one. The last thing is that we are losing one of our valued air quality specialist people. Allie, been with us, I think, a little over 3 years. She's chosen to move on to a job with the Navy as a civilian contractor up in Bellingham, doing environmental work for them. She's a good employee, a good person. It's going to be tough to lose her. It's a shame, but it will be here through April. We, I believe, put a new posting up for an air quality specialist, either 1, 2, or 3, depending on qualifications. Went up on Monday, I believe. Dan did a good job of getting it up on the website and sending it out to the places. So if any of you guys know anybody that wants to apply, we are looking to hire an air quality specialist to replace Allie, who will only be with us, it looks like 2 more weeks. She's done a lot in her 3 years. It's going to be a shame to lose her. So that's my quick spiel on 4 different things beside the manager packet. If you guys have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Great report.
Mike, I've got one question on the enforcement report. I see Westport LLC, which is Westport Yachts.
Yes.
Got dinged for max penalties for 6 different NOVs. Can you tell me, since we're in open session, just sort of a thumbnail of what the basis of that is, and if we've heard whether an appeal is coming?
Yes, a formal appeal is not coming as of yet. Robert's working with them. The issue is a emission inventory and usage problem. They were using some material, it's my understanding, it's not my source, but it's my understanding they were using some material that they were not approved for, and that again then gave them different emissions than we knew it. And so that we are it's a violation every month. They're required to track monthly usage, and of course, since they're using the wrong material every month, so this, you'll see these now. There will probably be another set of 6 months coming up, and there may even be a third set before it all gets resolved with Westport. The problem evidently came from COVID, and the manufacturer of the material that they needed wasn't able to make what Westport normally uses. So Westport went out and got some other stuff that was not approved, had different emission rates, and therefore the monthly emission rates are different. That's why you do see it monthly. And like I said, there will be, until they get the old material back or change their permit and modeling for the new material, these Westport ones will continue like this. And I think they're doing them in batches of 6 until all that stuff gets taken care of. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, and thanks, Mike. I can just add, we're working closely with them and we've been in constant conversation with them to find ways to get them back into compliance. It is, again, they're having a hard time getting apparently the low styrene resin, and so and it's the nature of this of their violation. It's a 12-month rolling average, and so it'll be a while even after they get the low styrene resin. Apparently, it will be a while before they're back in compliance. But we're again working closely with them to understand the issue and to get them back into compliance.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, great. Thank you. So we'll move to engineering with Mark.
Good morning. We'll direct you to tab B6 in your board packet. And this is a summary of industrial and commercial air permits. We have right now 27 applications in various stages in our various stages of processing. And if you have questions on any of those, please email Jeff or myself directly, and we could get you plenty of details. I'd like to just go over a few of those right now. Starting on page 1 of 4, Brady Trucking in Shelton. This is a proposed new composting facility. They'll be producing something on the order of 50,000 tons of finished compost a year. I'm just highlighting this one because I think composting is something that is here to stay and something we're going to see more of. In this particular case, the proposal will be diverting a certain amount of food waste from being landfilled. And as you know, with concern over methane emissions from landfills, that's a big deal. So if the food waste can be composted and not produce methane, that's a good thing. So composting is a big deal, not only in our jurisdiction, but throughout the country. And it's something we're going to see more and more of. So we're working with Brady Trucking to get their permits together. We'll issue an air permit. Right now, they also need a solid waste permit through ecology, and they're working on that. So I wanted to highlight that one. Also,
Mark?
Yes.
I think it's just important to say right now that the state passed new legislation around composting that's going to greatly increase it across our entire region. So this probably won't be the first permit.
Right.
Or won't be the only, I mean, sorry.
Yeah, that we're very biomass rich in this area. No sense of burning it if we could compost it. If you remember back, 12 years now, when we had the Stockholm Environment Institute do a study on biomass, one of the preferable options that showed well was getting the compost, getting the biomass out of the woods and instead of burning it in place and composting it. On the same page, I'll just highlight the City of Yelm wastewater treatment plant. Wastewater treatment plants are something that do require a permit. In this case, it's an existing wastewater treatment plant, and they are upgrading their headworks and odor control, and they're doing quite a few things. I'm just highlighting this one just to let you know things that happen at wastewater treatment plants have air emissions. There's a potential for hydrogen sulfide. There's a potential, definitely potential for odors. If things go awry, there's problems. So we have lot has several facilities registered with us. They're under a permit. They like 5 years ago upgraded their facility as well, and they went through permitting with us. So that's the reason why I wanted to highlight that one. On page 2, I wanted to highlight right there, the second row, international paper. The acronym for the type of permit here is SMO, and this is not our term, it's an EPA term. It stands for synthetic minor order. Okay, it's real awkward term, but what this permit does is it establishes limits, caps on their emissions to keep them out of the Title V Federal Air Operating Permit Program. Okay, so just to refresh your memory, that we have 11 major sources of emissions that are subject to this Title V program, where they have to get a air operating permit every 5 years. These are facilities like Sierra Pacific Shelton and McKinley Paper in Port Angeles, Sierra Pacific in Aberdeen. So we have 11 of those sources. So this synthetic minor order is a permit that we issue to establish limits to keep them out of this Title V program. So that's the reason why I want to highlight this one. It looks like this one is ready for final signatures, and International Paper can carry on as a minor source under this special permit. And the last one I wanted to highlight is page 3 of 4, bottom of the page, Washington State Healthcare Authority. I just wanted to let you know the reason why this is remaining on the list is that we're waiting for their proposal and for a change in what they would like to do for emergency power generation here. And we know that they're investigating it, and so that's all good. We've had appropriate correspondence, and so we're just waiting to hear back from them once they have evaluated the situation and decided how they want to provide for their emergency power. If it requires a permit, then we'll proceed with this application that they already have in-house and amend it as necessary. I'm kind of hoping that their proposal is not going to trigger a permit, because I don't think they need as much power generation as what that generator that is existing provides. So that one is in the process here, and so I just wanted it to come full circle and let you know. We'll take this one off the list when we hear back from them. And that's my report. So any questions?
Questions for Mark? I'm just curious, is International Paper in Lacey a new facility? There's no Lacey location on their international map of operations even.
It's not a new facility, and I'd have to get back to you on details as to. I know that they're existing, exactly where they're located, or whether this is maybe they're mailing.
Oh, okay, that might make sense. Okay, yeah, no big deal. I had not heard of IP in Thurston County before, so
I got it's ready for sign off right now, so it's going to go to me and then it's going to go to Jeff.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm sorry, I was trying to find the button. They used to be owned by Weyerhaeuser, and they were a Weyerhaeuser facility out there. They are in Lacey, way out off the railroad tracks. I can't remember the road. They've been a facility. Pardon?
Union Mills Road.
Yeah, there you go. Union Mills, right. And it was Weyerhaeuser for years, 15 years ago or so. And then at some point in that time to now, probably I'm guessing about 10 years ago, they sold off to International Paper, cardboard facility. But yeah, they've been there for a long, long time.
It was known as the Weyerhaeuser box plant off
Got
Union
it.
Mills Road.
Okay, that makes more sense. Got a lot of cardboard in that part of town, so
Yeah.
okay.
Thanks,
Perfect.
Mike.
Thanks, Mark and Mike. Okay, anything else for Mark? Okay, and I'll just point out that Dan shared the study on woody biomass in the chat. So if folks want to check that out, they can find it in that link, or if you're watching online, you can search the ORCAA website for study on woody biomass emissions and it should come up. Okay, so next we'll go to air monitoring from Odell.
All right. Oh, wow. I'm all in the lighting. Sorry. I apologize for the lighting in my office at home. Yeah, it's not set up ideally. Okay, so air quality monitoring summary for March 2022 is pretty short. Can you guys all see the screen that I shared?
There's not a screen shared.
Nope.
Well, let's try that again.
There it goes.
How did that work?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Okay, so the first, there we go. So this is not unexpected. We have all good air quality days in March. Sometimes we'll see higher than normal, but lately our air quality, winter air quality has been improving greatly, maybe in partial thanks to our wood stove reduction programs. So yeah, we can see good numbers here. And I want to point out something that I've noticed since I've come to ORCAA is that our averages for most of our sites are around 3 to 4 micrograms per meter cubed for the month. And I used to notice that in the summer, our averages would be around 5. So that was kind of the standard background air quality was around 5 micrograms per meter cubed. So in the last couple of years, I have noticed that has come down a little bit. And it's I think maybe during the annual summary, I may have shown that as well, but we are still seeing that. And then I just want to point out that that we did get 100% data collection at all sites this month, which is great. And I think partially due to some of the new technologies that we've put in to keep our sites communicating with fewer visits, which has been really nice. So in other monitoring news, the Grays Harbor saturation study, I did not have time this month to pull up and plot the data for that, but I will, it's still there and I will get that next month. And I have the solar panels came in and I've set them up with our purple air sensor, and I'm currently testing the system to see how robust it is and how well it continues to provide power to our sensor even under gray, cloudy, rainy days. So in a couple weeks, if I'm sufficiently happy with that, hopefully we'll be able to get that installed at a couple more sites in Grays Harbor. I mentioned last time that Rob Weiland has taken over as my assistant monitoring specialist after Nick's departure. And so we've continued to train Rob to do quality checks, and he has now visited all of our sites, I think with the exception of Lacey, and has demonstrated the ability to do the basic checks by himself. And so now we'll probably up that training to some minor maintenance and fixes at the sites that he can do on his own. So I'm excited to get that done. Mike mentioned that there was an environmental student that shadowed us during one of our visits. So she was actually shadowing Rob. He was up in Clallam County doing a lot of inspections that day, but we also met for the Port Angeles quarterly site visit. And so that was part of her shadow as well, is to talk to her about the air quality monitoring that we do. Last month, there were too many trips to Chicopeak. I typically only go up to Chicopeak once a month. And in March, I went up 3 times. So once every week. So there were, instrument failures that were just teaming up on me. Sometimes it's hard not to anthropomorphize these analyzers, and I really feel like they're doing it on purpose. But we have everything mostly fixed. I also want to mention that we did receive the funding. Well, we haven't received it, but we've got the approval from EPA for funding our Chicopeak infrastructure upgrades. So we're super excited about that. We'll be submitting, I'm working with EPA right now to submit our work plan and our final budget for that. And we should have the funding available to us in September, and we can start ordering new shelters and working with contractors to get some of those upgrades done. So that's super exciting. And then I just wanted to point out, we've started having meetings, the group I work with for keeping up the WaSmoke blog for the summertime. It's really only active in the summer. And I work with the Department of Ecology and the Washington State Department of Health and also Department of Forestry. We all partner together to write blogs for the Post and to keep the public informed of wildfire smoke episodes. We've had some major staff changes with the WaSmoke blog. So Ranil Damapala was sort of the main organizer coordinator for that out of ecology, and we lost him to South Coast down in California. So big blow there, but Beth Friedman will be filling, has taken his position, and she will be stepping up to fill that role. And I have worked with Beth a lot, and she's great. So keep the WaSmoke blog updated, or I just realized that my URL that I have on this slide is incorrect, but it should be correct on the packet that you guys got. So when you have questions or people are asking about wildfire smoke this summer, that is a great spot to direct them. Okay, so that is about all I have, I think. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know.
Questions for Odell? Great report. Odell, remind me, I vaguely remember that maybe we were doing away with the Washington Air Quality Index so there won't be confusion. Is that going to be in place for this season, and is there communication around it, or am I making that up?
No, you're not making that up. I haven't checked in with ecology yet on the timing of that. And last I heard it was this month. So I will definitely check with Beth on that and get back to you. Debbie can send an email out or let you guys know. But I believe that changeover is supposed to occur here in the next couple of weeks. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. Mark mentioned the upgrades or the work that's being done out at the Yelm wastewater treatment plant. That has also affected our monitoring. The Washington State Department of Ecology does seasonal ozone monitoring, and the traditional location for that analyzer is the Yelm wastewater treatment plant. And so they have not been able to have that there because of the construction and the work that's going on out there. So they'll be moving that site over to our Lacey site, and that will become an official summer ozone site for Thurston County. I think we did that last year, but we're filing paperwork with EPA now to make that more official, and we'll be working with them to get that up and running again this year. So that will be a little bit of work for us, but I think it's good, necessary. Okay. Sorry, that wasn't your question, but I did just remember that I wanted to add that on.
No, thank you. You answered my question too, so I appreciate it.
All right, great.
Anything else for Odell? Okay, go to Lynn for administrative services update.
Oh, I think it's Dan Nelson, our communications manager, is next.
Thanks, Lynn. I feel like I did that before too. I apologize, Dan. My dog's going crazy in the background, and I'm struggling with that. So go ahead, Dan. Communications.
Okay, we'll keep it brief so you can go play with your dog, which is more important. Wood smoke reduction, I mentioned to the finance committee. Winter months is always slow for people not willing to, or wisely not wanting to pull out their primary heat source during the cold months. So as we move back into spring, we had one day of spring and back into a little bit of winter weather here, but as we move into spring, we're seeing an uptick in applications for both the recycle program and the replacement program, which provides grants to replace wood stoves with cleaner heating devices. The downside of that is there still is a pretty low inventory and supply backlog of heat pumps, both ducted and ductless. So we're seeing fewer of those jobs being done at this time, but people are trying to get those scheduled. So our suppliers will be working on that and keeping me abreast. But I foresee a lot of work this summer as people finally get some of their heat pumps in stock and being able to get those installed. Let's see. The recycling award, again, not a lot of activity during the winter months. We'll see an uptick now. And we're going to do some advertising promotional push for all 6 counties using social media ads and other tools. Part of that will correlate with National Air Quality Awareness Week, which is May 2nd through 6th. So we'll do a push during that week. For that week, we'll also talk about some of the wildfire smoke preparedness that people should be looking at early before we get into smoke season, and some of our citizen science programs, specifically the air monitoring options that people have available. And in fact, this is Global Citizen Science Month, April. And the coming Saturday is National Citizen Science Day. So we've just published a blog post and press release about purple airs, or personal air quality monitoring devices, and how people can use them and participate in the global push to get more personalized data gathering out there. And so it's kind of like the growth of the personal weather stations that we've seen over the past decade or two, with the data being pushed out into sites like Weather Underground and some of the other conglomerate or sites that pull all that data together. We're seeing that with Purple Air, and I would foresee seeing that with other devices too, as they develop and grow. So that's really all I've got. Again, Air Quality Awareness Week in May, so we'll be pushing out news and sharing that with the board through our email alerts, and working with our sister agencies across the state as well to coordinate with them.
Okay, questions for Dan?
Well, this is Jeff. If I could jump in, I don't know, with a question for everybody. Are folks on the ORCAA distribution list? And if you're not, we should get you on there, because so as Dan mentioned, he pushed out a message yesterday regarding Citizen Science Day. And so, and again, he'll be pushing things out in May related to Air Quality Awareness Week. And so if you're not on the distribution list, let's get you on the list.
I don't think I am either.
I just shared the link to sign up on the chat.
Okay.
Great. And let us know if you have any trouble signing up, but that's a good way to, probably one of the best ways to stay up on stuff that we're doing. Dan tries to stay pretty active in pushing out information. And again, information about our permitting. There's a wide variety of stuff that comes out through there.
Yeah, and that the way it's set up is it's when we post a blog on our website, it pushes out to it's tagged for various topics. You can sign up for 4 or 5 different newsletters, general ambient air news, permitting news, outdoor burning, etc. So it's pushed out to those email newsletter lists automatically, and then also shared with our social media sites on Twitter and Facebook. Goes out to news media as well. So I think we currently have right around 8,000 email subscribers. And then a lot of those are shared. For instance, a lot of the local schools have one email address only, and then they push it out to their staff and teachers throughout their network. So
yeah, so a couple of us have signed up. Thanks for sharing the link. It'd be great to have all the board kind of get those. And then the other thing too, as a board, we can, when those campaigns come from all the air quality agencies, making sure our staff know and share the social media, content and all of those things. So, and then, Dan, as you're pulling together things for May, if there was a handful of social posts that our member jurisdictions could use, I think it would be really easy for them to grab and post. So if you have any content,
I'll
like
share
that.
EPA has put together EPA has put together a toolkit for us, and I know there's a handful of suggested tweets and Facebook posts that can be shared out. So cool. I'll get those out.
If you send us a local government version of that, or just the link, then we can get it to our comms folks. I think that'd be really cool.
Okay.
Great. Anything else for Dan? Okay, now we'll go to Lynn in real time this time.
All right. Good morning, all. Nice to see you. Glad you're joining us this morning. I just have 2 items this morning. One is the ADP payroll processing, automatic data processing. Back a few months ago, I shared with the Finance Committee that Thurston County was increasing our accounting fees for the payroll processing on behalf of ORCAA. We currently have a contract with Thurston County auditors, and their costs were significantly increasing. We were able to get them to agree to defer increasing those costs until July, as we were in the middle of our budget and we did not receive notice of the increase. It was actually after the fact. But first of all, I actually want to say thank you, Thurston County, for the previous years of providing the service. We definitely appreciate it. It met our needs at the time. So what we're looking at, because of the increase in cost, ORCAA has looked at alternatives. One being ADP, automatic data processing. Two, looking at expanding the existing accounting software in-house by upgrading the software payroll module and enrolling in the annual tax service update. The third option, of course, is staying with Thurston County. When you look at the cost involved, ADP being $125 a month, upgrading the existing software at $245 a month, or staying with Thurston County at $1,800 a month. I researched ADP, I researched our existing software program after a lot of consideration, contacting 5 clean air agencies to determine what their process was, and, you know, considering the safeguarding of employee information, getting the feedback, we feel that ADP is what's going to meet our needs, not only with cost, but the security behind it, the services that they provide. So we're definitely leaning towards looking at contracting with ADP with the start of our new year, July 1, 2022. Yay! So this will be nice, saving us about $22,000 plus a year. But again, Thurston County has met our needs. We definitely appreciate what they have done for us. And I will work, Jeff and I will work with Thurston County in providing notice and moving forward with this. The second is we received an acknowledgement with AWC, Associated Washington Cities, regarding our Well City application that was submitted in January. There was 105 entities that received the Well City Award. And as most of you know, it's a 2% reduction in medical premiums that ORCAA pays on behalf of employees and the employee share if there is any paid by employees. It's about $3,500 a year. Those obviously add up. So yay, that'll take effect for another year. So we submit an annual application to AWC, and then it takes everybody participating in wellness programs at ORC, and everyone does it's a group effort. So other than that, those are the 2 items I had. Happy to entertain any questions or. Hey, Greg, thanks for doing the update on the finance report. Appreciate it. Y'all enjoy until next time around.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks for doing that research on the payroll. That's huge. Okay, and last but not least, our executive director update, Jeff.
Okay, well, thanks everybody. Yeah, as we've talked about, so I've been continuing to dig in a variety of things. We have had some excitement over the past month. Some of it hasn't been so exciting or so pleasant. We had a couple vehicles in our fleet. The catalytic converters got stolen, so we've been dealing with that. We had the transformer out of the street that supplies power to our building failed a couple weeks ago, and it didn't completely fail, just one of the 3 phases failed, so it was causing all sorts of issues. Of course, being without an IT person right now, that was a bit challenging. Our servers were on the fritz, knocked our website off for a couple days. Luckily, it was over the weekend, but so that was a bit of a challenge. Definitely a tough time to be without an IT person, but Dan in particular, but I mean, everybody's jumped in, but Dan has been our honorary IT professional since Nick left at the end of February. So just so appreciative of all of Dan's efforts.
Jeff, I had a random question. When the power went out, does ORCAA have a generator?
No, we do not have a generator. So we're in the dark when the power's out. We do have some UPSs, some universal power supplies for our IT systems that keep them up, for 90 minutes or so. But those, again, because it was just one of the 3 phases and it was intermittent, it was just really hard to figure out what was going on. Of course, PSE was pretty unhelpful. We had to call our own electrician to get on site to help us figure out what was going on. Finally, PSE got on site, but they had to completely replace the transformer that's out in front of the building that's in front of the ORCAA building. So, and it was actually a Comcast issue. It turned out that the power outage caused a big problem with our Comcast. Speaking of Comcast, we are upgrading our bandwidth. I'm happy to say, to the building, but didn't want to do that without having our new IT person on board to help make sure that transition goes smoothly. Because again, that's part of what got was problematic in getting back online. Even once the power had come back on, we weren't online because of problems with IP addresses and things. But anyway, it's a good transition. Christopher Kraus, our new IT specialist, or our new system administrator, starts on Friday. So he comes with us most recently from the Mission Training Center at JBLM. It's been a contractor supporting Army training exercises there for the past 7 years. So really excited about having Chris join the team. I'm sure you'll get to meet him perhaps at the next meeting. And we've got a long list of things to get him up to speed on and for him to be working with us on. So let's see. So that obviously the whole hiring there took a fair amount of time, my time and others. Also been working a lot of time going into the budget. And so thank you, Lynn. Again, we had a good discussion at the Finance Committee meeting today, but again, not just Lynn, but Debbie and the rest of the managers in terms of pulling everything together to get ready for those conversations. Again, a lot of complications and uncertainties, new executive director stepping in, very high consumer price index. And so, lots of discussion about how much should fees, salary increases, those kinds of things. Let's see, as Mike mentioned during his report, we are also losing Ali Fight at the end of April. So very sad to see her go. She's been a great contributor for the past 3 years. And as Mike mentioned, she's moving up to Bellingham to be closer to family, and she'll be working on Whidbey Island, supporting the Navy's all of their environmental work at Whidbey Island. So we'll miss you, Ali, and it'll be hard to replace. But also, as mentioned, and I stuck the link in the chat, we have posted for air quality specialists. We're recruiting at 3 levels, so we'll see what our recruited pool looks like, and then we'll fill at the best candidate, and we'll match them at the level that they're best qualified for. So please share the link, help us get the word out that ORCAA is recruiting. And again, this is a critical position. Compliance inspectors are largely the face of the agency. They're the ones that are out investigating the outdoor burn complaints, looking at the asbestos demolitions, doing the inspections at the facilities, and so on. So really critical positions for the agency. Let's see, what else did I have? Just other things I've been working on. Of course, I've had a few of the board conversations and appreciate those very much. And we talked a little bit, I think, about, so there's also been involved in some compliance issues kind of that range from, we've talked about some of the large outstanding penalties that we have with some of our larger sources. So working with them, again, working to get them back into compliance, and then working on agreements around the appropriate penalties. So that's been taking some of my time. And then at the other end of the compliance issue, there have been issues with outdoor burning at homeless encampments. And so dealing with some of those in Lacey and some of them at Olympia. And of course, there is an air quality issue related to that, but of course, that's a much bigger issue than air quality and outdoor burning. And so making sure that we're working closely with other jurisdictions and that ORCAA's response is in is in concert and coordinated with what other agencies are doing. So I think that's it for my update. I did want Jeff Myers to give a little bit of an update because the 350 litigation is moving along. And so Jeff, maybe you could just give a quick update on that.
Just a brief status report. The trial court dismissed the claims that were brought on our motion because the plaintiffs lacked standing and the issue was not justiciable. The issue is who signs off on NOC permits for new source review. Should it be the executive director as ORCAA's rules provide, or should it be the board itself? Do those permits have to come before the board? Like I said, that was dismissed. It was appealed. The plaintiffs sought direct review in the Supreme Court. Our response to their motion for direct review is due on Thursday, and we are in the process of finaling that. We are opposing direct review in the Supreme Court. We think that the question of whether or not there is standing is something that needs to go through regular review through the Court of Appeals, and that this is not something which is a fundamental and urgent need for immediate Supreme Court intervention. So that's going to be filed tomorrow.
Great.
And
Thanks,
so
Jeff.
any questions? Perfect.
All right, any questions for me or anything else you'd like to hear from me about before I end my director report out?
Anything for Jeff or Jeff? Okay. And then just because Jeff Myers spoke and I really remembered, all the elected officials here have their F1 obligation to the Public Disclosure Commission by Friday. And if you have any question about how or if you need to list your other assignments, Jeff has done that work for us in the past and can answer those questions readily. So if you need it, reach out to him. Okay, anything else for the good of the order? We have no executive session, but we will have one next month to check in on our executive director's performance. And hearing no further business before the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency, we are adjourned. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, see y'all.
Thanks, everybody.